All right, this is the first reaction video that I've done in quite, a few years like this. So we're going to take a look at the video titled "My Experience with Colorism." Let's check it out.
That the lighter skin girls, the mixed race girls, were the more attractive ones, and so that was definitely like what was seen as if you were black. That was the archetype of what you should look like as a black woman.
I don't know. It's something that I think can be perpetuated a lot by dark-skinned men, and we've got a couple of them on the panel this evening. So if I open it up to like Dane, I'm so interested to hear what your thoughts on it are.
Okay, now this is my issue with that, right? So you had the more melanated sister, beautiful skin tone. You had her explain, how it is that she felt, how it is that she, feels that she has been seen and also been looked over, due to the fact of her skin color by, whoever. They didn't give like any, specific thing. So we're going to assume more than likely she was referring to, black men, right? So then after that, the lightest one on the panel, which is the one, wearing the lightest color there, she was like, I feel like this has more to do with black men. So we have a couple of those on the panel. So you, Dane, why don't you sit up there and, talk about, I'm like, why do you have that type of energy with him? The more melanated sister that's there, she didn't have that type of energy. She was just explaining, right, what it is that she went through, what it is that she experienced, but yet you seemingly, have this type of negative finger pointing, that type of energy, which is not even necessary for this conversation, because this conversation should be used to, build. It should be used to figure out the problems, right? Treat the symptoms and basically, cure the host for, all intents and purposes. But let's continue.
I think it's interesting that the conversation seems to be largely centered around discussions where men are superficially judging women, because when I was growing up, it was kind of the other way around, where it was normalized for women to kind of be like, I like light-skinned men, or go for a light-skinned man, and that was normalized in like R&B groups like Jodeci, where the light-skinned men were considered the more attractive ones, or in groups like H-Town. So in my experience, yeah, go ahead, Z.
Zane, I feel like black men do that all the time. We're talking about dark-skinned women, and somehow you guys bring in your trauma from year 12.
Okay, now let me show you something. Notice how the more melanated woman, right, who was explaining her story, she was allowed the floor. None of the black men interjected. None of them said anything. They were just like, all right, speak you. Do whatever it is that you need to do. Get all of that out, right? But the moment in time that you got a black man that's trying to do the exact same thing, and he's basically trying to show you like different areas in his life where he has basically experienced this, or things where he basically has seen it, the same thing as the black woman did. Now you got another black woman, right, who is I guess the co-host on the panel. Now she wants to jump on him. Oh, we're not talking about your 12-year-old experiences. Like, leave those traumas behind. You're a grown man now. What does that have to do with today and all of these other things? What does that have to do with the experiences of a black woman and what it is that she has to face, what it is that you as a more melanated black man has caused trauma and done to her? Like, that's that whole type of energy that she's basically giving off. This is yet again another reason why men don't, open up and talk more about their feelings or the different things that they experience in life, because when you happen to go to women, like, you'll end up hearing things like, it'll be like a tit for tat thing. It'll be like, all right, so you went through that, but then I, as woman, basically go through this on an everyday basis, and this is what happens to me, and that. And I'm like, we didn't really come here for that. We were just coming here for some type of like understanding, for some type of growth. But now you see it. Let's continue.
I'll tell you why.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. The 12 years old or however old you were, when it's like, okay, but now we were all young and stupid then. Like, we were dumb. We all said dumb stuff. But now.
No. Like how the host with the light. Now notice how her disposition. Notice her body position and whatnot. She was like, yeah, you go ahead and talk. You let that black man know what's going on. Now notice how she wanted to be dismissive of whatever it is that he was saying. Like, oh, it could have been 12 or, whatever, but you weren't being dismissive towards her experiences. If she listed an age or whatever it was, you weren't going to tell her, but love, that was when you were 12. You're a grown woman now. What about those experiences, then? And then on top of that, they were specifically talking about, one thing, right? And which was the whole colorism and how, basically she felt. And now she wants to, do the whole thing of with his experience, right? Want to be super dismissive. She was like, "You're 12. It doesn't even matter. That happened a long time ago. You're a grown man now." Then she wants to also go back and say, "Oh well, when we're young, we all say dumb stuff." If that's the case, then it should be a generalized answer for both the woman that listed her experience and also the black man as well. But it's not. It's only going towards the black man because he's at least trying to come to a common ground. What he's trying to do with his experience is like, yo, I acknowledge, I do understand what you're saying and seeing how certain things do transpire. I'm not dismissing that. But I also want to add on top of this conversation that we also have the exact same thing, and it happens in reverse when it happens to black boys when they're younger by way of black girls and black women. Like I said, I myself, I've seen this throughout middle school, throughout high school, and even my adulthood now. But I'll, expound on that a little bit later. But like I said before, this is why, in a sense, black men and black women cannot really get together and have the conversations that are really needed that would actually repair and fix us. Let's continue.
Oh, you lot are not. You lot are fetishized. Probably the black dark-skinned men may. You lot are flying.
But we've always been fetishized. They're referred to as bucks and studs in like adult films, or with your black man BMW.
Okay, so what do black men need to do for dark-skinned women?
Now, see how she did that? So he answered her question, right, in a sense, or her statement. She wanted to sit up there after she got done tearing apart his other thing. He went to another one. He heard what she was saying, was like, oh, she tried to do this, right? So this black woman is going through this, right? You can't basically compare to what it is because even as a dark-skinned black man, you are fetishized as if that is a positive, which realistically it is not. If a black man or a black woman is being fetishized solely off of the fact of their skin, that is not a good thing. Or solely off of the fact of their attributes, that is not a good thing. So for her to try to list that as a positive, to still try to keep the black woman down here so that her point can never be touched is ridiculous. This shouldn't be an argument of whose pain is basically worse, a black man or a black woman's. He's trying to find common ground to let her know that, yo, I see you, I hear you, I understand. But you got other black women that are on the panel that are like, no, we're not about to let you do that. You're here for us to like let you talk, but you can only have certain talking points that we agree with, and that's ridiculous. And then when he tried to go through it, he was like, yo, we've been called, bed bugs and, for a variety of reasons when it came to like films and, BMW and all these, other types of things. Like we have, certain things that, that go on specifically with us. And she still wanted to try to like dismiss everything and then was like, all right, so what do black men need to sit up there and do for dark-skinned black women? Right? That's how she's going to shift the blame directly on him. Right? Let's continue.
Black men collectively need to stop with colorism, using colloquial terms like lighty or light skin and, denigrating dark skin women. But at the same time, we need to recognize that is part of a much larger conversation.
That's all lives matter there, babe.
Here we go again. Now notice how he basically, when he was talking, when he was giving the answer that she wanted to hear, right? And he was sitting up there giving an answer. He was like, all right, so this is where it's going. All right, so this is what black men need to do. A, B, C, D, E, and F, right? And then he also wanted to point out that, yo, this is also a broader discussion. This is also a larger discussion because he's looking at the big picture. He's not just trying to sit up there and be like, yo, we're just going to sit up there and stay directly on this. We can also focus on this while also focusing on this as well, fixing the whole thing. That's not what they want to do. They want to solely make the black woman out to be the victim and to only be the victim and to only sit up there and say like, yo, only she goes through this. Only she feels this. Only she goes through this a certain type of way. Nobody can compare and whatever else. Your experience doesn't even sit up there matter because you're not a black woman at the end of the day. So what is the use of having black men up here that are highly melanated? What's the use of trying to do this? Like if all you wanted to do was just have some men up there to beat on, then just say that. Don't have them up there as if you're going to allow them to talk the same way that the black woman was able to express herself. Like that makes no sense. You don't need to have like you don't even need to be on a show like this. Like that's bad hosting skills. Like I said, like that's 100% crazy to me to literally see a black woman do that to a black man trying to empathize and sympathize with a black woman that's, you know, right across from him, trying to like let her know, like, yo, I hear you and I understand what you're going through. Let me sit up there and share some of my experiences with you, right? And then she wanted to get to the point of like, oh, you know, when you talk about trying to make it a broader spectrum, you're trying to all lives matter the situation. How is that an all lives matter situation when it's dealing with black people? Do you see how ignorant that sounds? All lives matter consists the whole meaning behind that is a counter argument towards BLM, right? So now you're trying to sit up there and say that this black man is trying to make a counter argument towards whatever the black woman is sitting up here facing. So he's trying to all lives matter. Come on, man. Like, let's continue.
It's not really, because we're just talking about black people.
But then you start
But
about
you're younger than me, and I'm telling you, you are looking at
Okay,
it.
Dad. Okay,
I'm saying to
sorry,
you,
should we
no,
go straight?
I'm saying because when I was younger, it was the same.
It is one of those things there, but I just feel like, for example, we're growing up and I was black.
Yeah, me too.
I never knew how dark I was until another black man,
Secondary school.
not even primary school, until another black man had called me dark. So it goes, regardless of whether it's in the house or not, when it comes to men and female, no matter whether we've gone through those experiences, the woman's experience is always going to be far worse than the man.
I agree with that.
And you see right there. That's it. That's it. So it's like for me, when I sit up there and look at this and I see the two black men up there, it's no reason for them to be up there. Because she just basically stated what the other co-host to the right was basically trying to get at. Your experiences don't matter. Say what it is that we want you to sit up there and say, and that's it. Just shut up. That's it. Because that's all she did to him. She didn't do that to the black woman at all. At any point in time during the feud that she was talking, she never interjected or whatever. She allowed her to have her time to live in that pain or that trauma, and allow her to express that. When a black man tried to do that, when a black man tried to find common ground, when he was building that bridge, you got black women coming down to chop that up. No, we're not having that. Nope. We're not having that. We're not going to have any common ground here. We're not going to sit up there and have you empathize and trying to sympathize here. We're not going to have none of that. But what we want you to do is we want you to shut up and we want you to say the things that are agreeable so that we can continue on with the conversation, so that we can continue to blame black men for all of this. When the funniest thing is, I've seen from older black women who have more melanated complected daughters where they would be like, you're the black sheep of the family, and different things like that. You're the black cat, anything that seem as a negative or whatever it is. That's what they would start to call the more melanated women in the family. But yet they don't want to talk about that. And that's something that the black man tried to touch on before by using his own experience as a black man. But they wouldn't let him do that. This is, again, when he tried to say that this is a part of a broader topic of conversation. They didn't want to sit up there and hear that. And then you got the lightest one of the group who kept interjecting and all this other stuff. When he tried to listen to her, he was like, yo, I need you to calm down for a minute. Like, I'm older than you. So I've been through this a lot longer. I'm trying to tell you, like, what it is and how I've seen it, what I've experienced. Then the lightest one in the room wanted to be like, okay, dad. But yet again, her co-host is like, okay, when we were young, we said and did immature things, but yet we're grown now. But look at how y'all acting. Look how it is that y'all acting. Y'all acting immature. As soon as a man is on a panel and he's trying to express what it is that he's going through in order to sympathize and empathize with the black woman that's across from him, y'all want to chop that up real quick. Y'all don't want that to happen. Y'all just want him to give the talking points that are agreeable for the conversation so that you can continue to blame black men. That's ridiculous. Like I said before, why even have a conversation? This is why in the black community, we will always continue to have a back and forth type of issue, because we can never have an open discussion without things like this taking place. And especially if women started the discussion, oh yeah, it's not happening. It's not happening. I'm just going to be honest. It's not happening. Like I said before, me as a young dude going through middle school, going through high school, and even life in general, like I said, I'm not the, the most highly melanated, brother out here. But even I've heard those conversations from, women, girls that are teenagers and in middle school where, they were like, yo, I couldn't, I don't see you as a boyfriend because, your nose or, your skin, you don't have like light eyes, you don't have good hair, and like all this other type of stuff. Like I said before, and those are things that black women still say to this day, that they will date a certain type of guy because they want a pretty baby. Like I said, I've been hearing this since childhood. That's not something that guys would initially say. No guy at middle school, high school is like, yeah, I want me, a light girl, a light black girl, because, I'm trying to have pretty kids, good hair, all of that. That's not a normal conversation. I can tell you, I've been around too many guys, had conversations about black women all the time. That is not a normal conversation. But a normal conversation that I have heard is black women saying that. If I have a light guy, I'm going to have a pretty baby and all this other stuff. They're going to have good hair and light eyes, and the baby's going to be looking good, and their hair is not going to be a certain type of way. Like I said before, like the black man was trying to get to, it's a part of a larger topic. But at the moment in time when a black man is there and this conversation is being led by black women, it's not going to go in that direction, because you're just there to, in a sense, be a punching bag. You're just there to give the talking points that they want you to give at the end of the day. Like I said, hopefully, with this panel, they'll do something better. They'll come to a better realization, when it comes to, hosting and allowing people to, make and get a common ground instead of trying to interject and trying to belittle, one of the panelists that you allowed to be there and that you allowed to speak. But whatever. Anyways, like I said before, this is one of the first reaction videos I've did in a very long time. But let me know what you guys think about this video and everything that I stated, and also some things that you heard and maybe I might have missed, in the comment description below. And as always, peace, love, and stay tuned for the next video.